The beginning of the mystery. Jonathan Hale was one of the richest and most powerful men in the city. As the CEO of Hale Enterprises, he was known everywhere for his success and influence. But at home, his world was falling apart. His only daughter, Amelia, had suddenly fallen very sick. She was just 17, full of dreams and energy, but now she lay in a hospital bed, fighting for her life. The girl who once filled their mansion with laughter was now silent, connected to machines that kept her alive. The sickness had come without warning. One morning, Amelia felt dizzy and weak. By evening, she had collapsed in the dining room. Her father rushed her to Alverton General Hospital, one of the best and most expensive hospitals in the country. Jonathan believed his money and power could save her, but the fear in his heart was stronger than ever. By Amelia's side was Elena Morales, the maid who had cared for her since childhood. Elena was not just a worker in the house, she was like family. Having raised Amelia almost like her own child, she refused to leave her bedside. Day and night she sat next to Amelia, holding her hand, whispering prayers and watching every detail around her. The hospital looked perfect from the outside, with its shining floors, modern machines, and top doctors. But Elena soon noticed strange things. The nurses often avoided questions, the doctors gave vague answers, and sometimes their behavior seemed unusual. One evening, she even overheard two nurses whispering about Amelia's medical charts, saying that things didn't add up. When Elena tried to listen more, they quickly stopped talking. Jonathan, who was always strong in business, now looked broken. He sat for hours outside Amelia's room, making calls to specialists around the world, begging them to come. But each one told him that Amelia was already in the best hospital. He felt helpless, and one night, with tears in his eyes, he admitted to Elena that all his success meant nothing if he could not save his daughter. Elena tried to comfort him, reminding him that Amelia was strong and would keep fighting. The next morning, Elena saw something that worried her deeply. A new nurse came to change Amelia's IV bag. The nurse's hands shook, and she avoided looking at Elena. After she left, Elena noticed the IV fluid looked a little cloudy, not as clear as it should be. Her heart filled with fear. She did not know exactly what was wrong, but she felt something dangerous was happening. From that moment, Elena decided she would not let Amelia out of her sight. She trusted her instincts more than the polished smiles of the hospital staff. She was ready to protect the girl she loved like her own child, even if no one else believed her. The maid's growing doubts, the days at the hospital felt endless. Jonathan tried to stay strong, but the worry in his eyes grew heavier with each passing hour. He brought in specialists, checked the bills, and demanded the best treatments, but nothing seemed to improve Amelia's condition. The doctors kept saying it was a rare illness, that they were doing everything possible, but their words gave little comfort. Elena, however, paid more attention to small details than to the doctor's big speeches. She noticed that Amelia's condition often seemed worse after certain medications or IV changes. At times, Amelia's heartbeat on the monitor would suddenly drop, or her breathing would become weaker. Then the staff would rush in, pretending it was part of the illness. But Elena's instincts whispered something else. This was not natural. She remembered how the new nurse, the one who had changed the IV, looked nervous and avoided her gaze. Every time that nurse entered the room, Elena felt uneasy. She wanted to speak up, but she was just a maid. Who would believe her in a hospital full of educated doctors and professional staff? Still, her heart told her not to stay silent forever. 18 night, when Jonathan finally went home to rest, Elena stayed beside Amelia. She talked to her softly, even though the girl was unconscious. "My sweet child," she whispered, "you must fight. You cannot give up. I know something is wrong here, and I will not stop until I find the truth." Sometimes she thought Amelia's fingers twitched slightly, as if she was listening and trying to hold on. One evening, Elena decided to follow her instincts. When the nurse brought another IV bag, Elena stood closer than usual, pretending to adjust Amelia's blanket. She noticed the nurse flinch under her stare. Elena's eyes quickly caught a faint difference in the liquid. It was not as clear as the ones she had seen before. Her stomach twisted with fear. Could this be poison? Or something harmful hidden in plain sight? Later, she quietly shared her worry with Jonathan. "Sir, something is not right," she said firmly. "The medicine they are giving her. I think it is hurting her, not helping." Jonathan looked at her with tired eyes. He wanted to trust her, but his mind struggled. "Elena, these are top doctors, the best in the world. How could they be wrong? How could they harm her?" Elena held her ground. "Sometimes danger comes from places we least expect. Please, just watch with me. Look carefully. Don't put all your faith in their words. Look at your daughter and see what's happening after each treatment." Jonathan hesitated, but he knew Elena had always been loyal. He agreed to keep a closer eye. Together, they decided not to confront the staff yet, but to observe quietly. If they rushed, the truth might be hidden even deeper. Over the next few days, their fears only grew stronger. Amelia's health kept dipping, but always after something was given to her through the IV. Jonathan began to notice it too. His confidence in the hospital staff started to crumble, and for the first time, he realized Elena might be right. One night, Jonathan and Elena stood by Amelia's bed in silence. The machines beeped steadily, but the tension in the room was heavy. Jonathan clenched his fists. "If they are doing something wrong," he muttered, "I will not forgive them. Money, power, influence, none of it matters if my daughter dies because of lies." Elena nodded. Her eyes were filled with tears, but also with determination. "Then we must be ready," she said quietly, "because the truth is close, and when it shows itself, we must act fast." Fear turns into suspicion. The hospital room had become Amelia's world. Machines beeped in rhythm with her weak heartbeat, and the soft hum of the air conditioner filled the silence. Jonathan often stood near the window staring at the city lights outside, lost in thought. Elena, however, never left Amelia's side. She had grown even more alert, her eyes always moving, watching every nurse, every doctor, every hand that touched Amelia. Elena had now noticed a clear pattern. Whenever Amelia was given new fluids through the IV, her condition would suddenly decline. Her skin would turn pale, her breathing would grow weaker, and sometimes she would twitch in pain. But whenever the IV was delayed or left untouched for longer, Amelia's breathing seemed calmer and her body appeared less stressed. This could not be a coincidence. One evening, Jonathan finally admitted what Elena had been telling him all along. "You are right," he whispered, his voice heavy, with fear. "Something is happening here, and I've been blind to it. I wanted to believe the doctors, but I see it now with my own eyes." His face was pale, his jaw tight with anger. Elena looked at him with both sadness and relief. "Sir, I don't know what they are putting in her IV, but I fear it is harming her. We must be careful. If we accuse them without proof, they will deny everything. But if we wait too long, we may lose her." Jonathan nodded slowly. He was a man used to fighting battles in the corporate world, but this was different. This was his daughter's life, and the enemy was hiding behind the mask of medical care. That night, Elena could not sleep. She stayed awake, sitting beside Amelia, whispering prayers. Her heart was torn between fear and determination. In her mind, memories of Amelia as a little girl came rushing back. The way she would run through the garden, giggling, or hide in Elena's arms whenever she was scared. Elena loved her as if she were her own child, and the thought of losing her was unbearable. The next morning brought more unease. A senior doctor visited, accompanied by 2 nurses. He smiled politely and explained Amelia's condition with fancy medical terms, but his eyes never met Jonathan's directly. Elena noticed his hesitation, the way he rushed through details. She felt the words were meant to confuse rather than to explain. After they left, Jonathan slammed his hand on the table. "They think I am a fool. They think my money will keep me quiet. But I can see through their lies." His voice shook with both anger, and the air inside the hospital room grew heavier with each passing day. Fear was no longer just in Elena's heart, it was in Jonathan's too. And both of them knew something terrible was being hidden. They just didn't know how close they were to uncovering it. The truth in the IV, the tension inside Amelia's hospital room grew heavier with each passing day. Jonathan was no longer calm and trusting. His face showed constant worry, and his patience with the doctors was running out. Elena, however, remained focused, her eyes sharp and her instincts guiding her every move. She knew the danger was close, and she had to be ready. One evening, just after sunset, a nurse entered the room with a fresh IV bag. Elena's heart immediately raced. It was the same nurse who always appeared nervous, the one who avoided her eyes. Elena stood silently, pretending to adjust Amelia's blanket, but her gaze never left the nurse's hands. The nurse hung the new IV and quickly connected it to Amelia's line. For a moment, Elena saw it again, the faint cloudiness in the liquid. It was not clear like normal fluid. Her body froze, but her mind screamed. Something was terribly wrong. Within minutes, Amelia's monitors began to beep faster. Her heartbeat became unsteady, and her breathing grew weaker. Jonathan rushed forward, in panic. "What's happening to her?" he shouted. The nurse muttered something about normal reactions and tried to calm him down, but Elena could no longer stay quiet. With tears in her eyes and fire in her voice, she cried out, "Stop! The IV is poisoned. Don't let this run into her body anymore." The room went silent for a moment. Jonathan stared at Elena in shock, unable to believe what he just heard. The nurse froze, her face pale, her hands trembling. The machine's alarm grew louder, forcing everyone to realize the seriousness of the moment. Jonathan quickly pulled the IV line from Amelia's arm, his heart pounding. "If this is true," he growled, "then someone tried to kill my daughter." His eyes were filled with fury, his trust in the hospital shattered completely. Elena's chest rose and fell quickly, but her voice was steady. "Sir, I have been watching every change, every bag, every reaction. Each time they give her this, she gets worse. This is not medicine, it is poison." The staff rushed in after hearing the alarm, but Jonathan stopped them with a glare that could cut steel. "No one touches her until I know the truth," he ordered. His voice carried the weight of power, and for the first time the staff hesitated. Amelia lay unconscious, her small body weak, but Elena gently held her hand. "You will not suffer any more," she whispered, her tears falling onto the bed. "I have found the truth, and now we will protect you." That night, Jonathan ordered private security to guard Amelia's room. He no longer trusted the hospital staff. He made calls to bring in independent experts, demanding that the IV bags be tested immediately. The truth could not be hidden anymore. As Elena sat by Amelia's side, she felt a mix of fear and relief. Fear, because the danger was real and close. Relief, because she had finally spoken the truth aloud, no matter the risk. She looked at Jonathan, and for the first time, she saw in his eyes not just a powerful man, but a father who would fight with everything he had to protect his daughter. The war for Amelia's life was no longer silent. The secret was out, and now the real battle for truth and justice had begun. The hidden enemy revealed. The hospital room was no longer calm after Elena's cry. Her words, "The IV is poisoned," echoed in Jonathan's mind again and again. The air felt heavy, and everyone who entered the room carried a sense of unease. Jonathan had immediately stopped the IV and demanded that the bag be tested. He no longer trusted the doctors or the nurses. By the next morning, Jonathan had called in a private medical team. These were specialists from outside the hospital, people he trusted because they had no connection to Alverton General. They carefully examined Amelia and also took the IV bag for testing. Their serious faces told Jonathan everything. Something was truly wrong. Within hours, the results came back. The liquid inside the IV was not normal medicine. It contained a harmful substance that could slowly weaken a patient's heart and lungs. It was not a mistake. It was deliberate. Someone wanted Amelia to die. Jonathan's heart burned with rage. He stormed into the hospital director's office, slamming the report on the table. "Explain this," he demanded. The director stuttered, sweating nervously, claiming ignorance. "This must be a terrible mistake. I don't know how this happened." But Jonathan's sharp eyes caught the fear in his voice. Meanwhile, Elena stayed by Amelia's side, her hands tightly holding the girl's. She prayed endlessly, whispering words of hope. "You are safe now, my child. The truth is out. They cannot harm you anymore." Her faith never wavered, and somehow Amelia's breathing began to stabilize. It was as if the girl could feel the protection around her. Jonathan also ordered his private security to investigate quietly. They reviewed CCTV cameras in the hospital hallways. What they found shocked everyone. Footage showed the same nervous nurse meeting secretly with someone in the parking lot late at night. Bags were being exchanged, money passing into her hands. When confronted, the nurse broke down in tears. She confessed that she had been bribed by someone who wanted Amelia gone, but she refused to name the person at first, too scared of the consequences. It took hours of questioning before she finally admitted the truth. A rival of Jonathan in the business world had orchestrated the plot, paying hospital staff to poison Amelia's treatment. The revelation hit Jonathan hard. His business rival, someone he had once crushed in a corporate takeover, had chosen revenge not through contracts or lawsuits, but by targeting his innocent daughter. Jonathan clenched his fists, his voice trembling with both fury and pain. "He tried to destroy me by harming the only thing I truly love. For this, he will pay." Elena looked at him firmly. "Sir, anger is natural. But right now, Amelia needs peace more than revenge. Justice will come in time. For now, let us save her completely." Jonathan took a deep breath. He realized she was right. Revenge could wait. His daughter's life could not. He knelt by Amelia's bed, holding her hand for the first time without pride, without distance, just as a broken father. "I'm here, my little girl," he whispered, tears falling freely. "I promise you, no one will ever harm you again." The hospital was soon filled with investigators, police officers, and reporters. The truth spread quickly, and Alverton General faced a storm of scandal. The once revered hospital was now under fire for corruption and negligence. Staff members were questioned, and those involved were arrested. Through it all, Elena stayed quietly in the background. She did not seek recognition or praise. All she wanted was for Amelia to open her eyes again, to smile once more. She prayed, silently, that this nightmare would soon end. Light after darkness. The truth about the poisoned IV spread like wildfire. News channels reported the shocking scandal, and people everywhere were outraged. How could such a respected hospital allow this to happen? More importantly, how could greed and revenge go so far as to target an innocent girl? The police quickly arrested the nurse and others involved, and soon Jonathan's business rival was also exposed. He had planned everything, hoping that Jonathan would be crushed by the loss of his daughter. But his evil plan had failed. Jonathan attended every meeting with the investigators, making sure no detail was ignored. He used his power and influence not for profit this time, but for justice. "This is not just about my daughter," he told them. "This is about every patient who puts their trust in a hospital. No one should suffer like Amelia did. His voice carried the weight of a father's pain and the determination of a man who would not stop until the guilty were punished. Inside the hospital room, Elena never left Amelia's side. She sang softly, prayed, and told her stories, as if the girl could hear every word. Day by day, Amelia's condition began to improve. Without the poisoned IV, her body slowly regained strength. One morning, after weeks of silence, her eyes fluttered open. Weak but alive, she whispered, "Elena." Tears ran down Elena's cheeks as she held Amelia's hand tightly. "Yes, my child, I'm here. You are safe now." Jonathan, who had walked the story, touched millions of people. It became a reminder that true strength does not always come from power or money, but from love, loyalty, and courage. In the end, Jonathan changed too. He became a softer man, more humble, more grateful. Amelia recovered fully and often said that her second chance at life was because of Elena. And Elena, though she never asked for recognition, found herself respected not just as a maid, but as a hero. As Amelia walked out of the hospital for the first time, Jonathan and Elena were on either side of her, supporting her steps. It was not just a father and daughter anymore. It was a family that had survived the darkest storm together. And from that day onward, Amelia's life was not only her father's pride, but also a living proof that love and courage can defeat even the deepest evil.